说中文。
Chinese pot, Chinese pot, Chinese pot. That's the way to learn Chinese. Chinese pot, Chinese pot, Chinese pot. That's the way to learn Chinese.
Hello there, my name is Ken Carroll.
Hi there, I'm Jenny.
And we are Chinese Pod, and we
Yes.
are bringing you lessons in spoken Mandarin all the way from
Shanghai,
from
China.
China.
Yes.
Now, to whom are we addressing this lesson?
To our dear newbies.
Our dear newbies. Okay, good newbies. If you've never learned Chinese before, if this is your first lesson, well,
Welcome. This
kick
is for you.
back, and we'll try to make
Enjoy.
it accessible. It's very easy today's lesson, I must say.
And very functional as always.
I hope so. Now, what we always like to do here is to give you a picture in your mind's eye of what might be happening here. Rather than sort of analyzing language, I don't think that's very useful. What we like to do is kind of,
Context driven.
indeed, it's all about context. And we're managing the context, hopefully, for you.
Yeah.
So to tell you where and when and how you might come across this language
And how you
can
use it. Yes.
Now, tell us about the context today. What do you foresee here, Jenny?
I foresee two people
Okay.
in an elevator,
An elevator.
or waiting for one.
Okay.
And the elevator comes, the door opens, the one person says, "Oh, after you." So
Good.
being very polite.
Whoa, great. All right, so it's showing politeness and in Chinese context of waiting for an elevator. Or it could be, of course, going through a threshold, crossing a threshold of a door, or going into an event or whatever. Now, a very brief word on the notion of politeness and stuff like here. What I find in China is the context is really everything. If you're in a crowded bus station, obviously, forget about it. You just get in there, you get your elbows out, and you get through that crowd. You you won't have people saying, "Oh, your turn." That's
right.
not going to happen. There's 100,000 people in this train station, and
Yeah.
everybody's getting through. Now, does happen in China is when you're in a slightly more formal setting, or someone with whom you are connected or you're working with, then things are really formal and there's space. You don't have to. So you're like getting into an elevator with a colleague or something, or a visitor or something.
Yeah.
Then you've got to really know when to turn on the charm of the
Yes.
politeness.
Even getting seated, I mean,
Exactly.
you always let the people who are more senior or higher ranking
Indeed.
sit
Now,
first.
so that's one of the great mysteries of Chinese culture as well for the newbie to the culture, because I do always, err on the side of caution here. It's better to be too polite than to be impolite in China.
Yes.
So when you see people who are sort of senior or older people, just lay it on thick. Just be really polite. And
Yes.
so, anyway, that was a brief speech on the subject of politeness. We'll give you some very simple language on how to do that now. So let's listen to that dialogue 3 times.
Sure. Dialogue first time.
你先，
哦，谢谢，
不用谢。
你真礼貌。
Second time.
你先，
哦，谢谢，
不用谢。
你真礼貌。
Third time.
你先，
哦，谢谢，
不用谢。
你真礼貌。
Okay.
Ding.
Indeed.
Time for translation.
Yes.
你先，
You first.
你先，
Go first, please.
你先。哦，谢谢。
Oh, thank you.
哦，谢谢。
Oh, thanks.
哦，谢谢。不用谢，
Don't mention it.
不用谢，
Not at all.
不用谢。你真礼貌，
Wow, you're really polite.
你真礼貌，
You're really polite.
你真礼貌。Short and sweet.
Short and sweet and useful.
Yes.
Again, imagine yourself getting into, or could be getting out of an elevator for that matter. So politeness. Now, somebody is displaying, levels of politeness to somebody else. Here, you can figure that out for yourself, who's talking to whom. Now, let's look at the language. So the first sentence was,
你先，你先.
你先. Tell us about the tones there first before we talk about the meaning.
Third and first.
Okay.
你先，
你先.
你先.
Now, the word 先 means
First.
first. And the pronoun 你 means you. You can guess what that means. You first.
Yes.
In English, it doesn't actually sound that. It sounds like two kids daring. No, you go first. No, you first.
Yes.
I'm not willing to do that. You first. In Chinese, it's super polite. There's absolutely nothing impolite about that.
English, it's double flip. You normally say after you.
Yeah, indeed. So you first. So please, after you is.
你先，你先.
So you first. Okay. Now, your interlocutor is, of course, pleased with the gesture.
So he or she says, "Oh, 谢谢，谢谢."
谢谢. Thank you.
Probably your first word in Chinese.
Yeah,
谢谢.
it's a good way to start. 谢谢. And of course, you're being even more polite at this stage, and you're saying, "Look, there's no need for the thanks." It's
不用谢，不用谢.
now 不用谢 literally means
No need to thank.
no need for the thanks. So let's look at the three elements in it. So the first word is,
不，不.
and that means no,
No.
or not.
The negative.
Yes.
Welcome back to another installment of Chinese Pod Trivia. And the question for you is, for what test does Chinese Pod offer preparation services for? Is it A, the polygraph, B, the colonoscopy, C, the HSK test, or D, the CAT scan?
The CAT scan?
Ooh, sorry, that is incorrect. The correct answer is C, the HSK test. That's right, Chinese Pod will thoroughly prepare you to pass this rigorous test of proficiency in Chinese. ChinesePod.com/HSK.
The next word is
用，用, meaning use of.
use of, yeah. And then the next part is
谢，
谢, as
谢
in
谢谢.
thanks.
对
So literally translated to be there is no need to thank.
Yeah.
Okay.
不用谢.
不用谢.
You might have noticed the tone change. 不 by itself is fourth tone.
Yes.
However, when coupled with another fourth tone, when it appears before another
Yes.
fourth tone,
Yes.
it changes into the second tone.
Okay, good. So let's just listen to the sound. Let's concentrate on the sound then. So when you're saying no thanks, not necessary to thank, you say
不用谢，不用谢.
不用谢. So that's how you say it. So practice it over. Again, we do a little bit of analysis here because some people like the analytic stuff and they like to know where all the little parts are. But the point is this, learn the language in chunks, right? Learn them in phrases and chunks. It's much, much easier to remember.
Really works because I'm learning Spanish now with Spanish Pod.
Well done.
That's how I learn
Great.
chunks.
So yeah, especially when you have, because in Chinese you have the tones, and sort of trying to remember individual tones is difficult. So best thing to do is to sing it and get the sound of it. So let's hear that again. I'll say thank you, and you can reply, Jenny. Here we go. 谢谢,
不用谢，谢谢，
不用谢,
谢谢.
不用谢.
Let's keep going.
Okay, indeed. Let's keep going with the lesson. There you go. So that's how it sounds. Now, you want to tell somebody you're being extremely polite here. That's very kind of you.
And you say,
Yeah.
你真礼貌，你真礼貌.
Now, let's take it from the back. So the word at the back there is,
礼貌,
now, third tone, fourth tone, right?
correct.
礼貌.
Yeah,
And that means
polite.
polite.
Or politeness.
So it's an adjective or
And a noun.
Okay. And we have that pronoun for you, once again, and that is,
你
now we have the word for very or really, and that is,
真 first tone.
真, meaning really or very, very much so.
Yeah.
So when you put them together, you have you, very polite, and that is,
你真礼貌， 你真礼貌。
你真礼貌.
对。
You're very polite. And notice you don't need like auxiliary verbs in Chinese. Stuff like
nope.
you are polite and stuff, or copulas and stuff like that. All that stuff that English makes English so complex. But it's very straightforward. A couple of things I want to ask you though about when you say 你真礼貌. Okay, so that's just a way to show that you appreciate the kindness.
Yes.
So let's hear it again. You're very polite.
你真礼貌。你真礼貌。
Yeah, I would just caution slightly against overusing that. I mean, that sounds slightly
Exactly.
what you might say to a child or
Yeah.
something. Yeah,
Just a tiny bit.
a tiny bit. So, but again, for a newcomer to the language, it's your way to say, look, you're being very polite. Thank you,
对。
and so on. All right, let's listen to that 3 more times.
好。Dialogue first time.
你先，
哦，谢谢。
不用谢。
你真礼貌。
Second time.
你先，
哦，谢谢。
不用谢。
你真礼貌。
Third time.
你先，
哦，谢谢。
不用谢。
你真礼貌。
Well, I think the art of Chinese etiquette is really interesting. Politeness is something that you'll find more discussions here on the site. I mean,
Yes.
I do. I think I've mentioned it before. You giving face is huge, and being polite. And I've been in situations where it's like, wow, I'm getting a lot of face here. Say you're leaving a meeting. I think we talked about this before, but you're leaving a meeting. The person stands up and shakes your hand.
Yeah.
That's kind of nice.
Yes.
The person stands up, shakes your hand, walks you to the door.
Yeah.
It's getting nicer. They take you walk to the door, walk out to the elevator. We're getting very nice here.
And take the elevator with you. Open the door for you. Get a cab for you.
That is being super nice, and that meeting has gone well.
Yes.
But it's very unlikely that people won't actually see you to the door of the office. I mean, that would be pretty rude in China. They'll see you to the door.
Yeah.
How all this stuff works.
A little 礼貌 goes a long way.
A little 礼貌 goes a very long way.
Yeah.
So does a little bit of study on Chinese pot. So go there, look for the patterns. All right, look for the patterns. That's the key right here.
Connecting the dots.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 ways you can do it. You can have somebody just explain the grammar and the structures of the language, or you can just look for the patterns. And that's what we try to point out here. Patterns, sort of social patterns and language patterns and stuff. And that's how it all works.
Yeah. So we'll be back
Will
tomorrow.
we will?
And we will see you to the door.
Will Are you trying to get rid of me now, Jen?
No.
You're offering to see me to the door. Okay, fair enough.
Being 礼貌.
Oh, you are very 礼貌, I know.
好,
Okay.
we'll be back tomorrow.
Indeed.
再见.
再见.
As usual, ChinesePod provides an extensive selection of learning materials for this lesson on its website, www.chinesepod.com. You can access this lesson directly with the lesson number
0756
So just go to www.chinesepod.com/0756
0756
and you will find a transcript, vocabulary, and much more. The link again, www.chinesepod.com/0756